Almost every one of us has a lid on what we're going to be able to achieve in our life. And the funny part is we put that lid there ourselves. And I think almost everybody wants to have more money, be in better shape, have a better love life, and you name it. We want to be more successful at something. And I don't think that success is the meaning of life, but it's certainly one of the things, probably one of the key things that gives our lives meaning. It's to paraphrase Earl Nightingale. He once said something about the pursuit of a worthy goal. Well, it's the desire to pursue a worthy goal that gives our lives juice. It's what gives us a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It's what gets us off the couch and gets us moving. So if there's so many of us out here wanting to be successful, why is it that we are all putting a lid on ourselves? Why is it more of us don't succeed at our goals? I mean, we can look around and see that if someone else achieved whatever it is we're wanting to achieve, then it must be possible. If one person can do it, another person should be able to do it as well. In fact, one of the best examples of that is the 4-minute mile. I think it was back in 1954, a guy by the name of Roger Bannister finally broke the 4-minute mile barrier. And up until that time, we just, as a species, didn't believe that it was possible. Now, once he did it, he proved that someone could do it. Since that time, there's been some 1,400 or more people that have broken the 4-minute mile. So it's a great example of there was a lid on humanity that said we couldn't do a 4-minute mile. One guy did it, and all of a sudden, the lid came off. People looked and said, well, hell, if one guy can do it, it must be possible. And that's true about everything. So the fact that story is true is really pretty spectacular evidence that the lids that we have on our achievements and our goals really are self-inflicted lids. So if that's the case, how do we get out from under those lids? How do we move on and actually achieve our goals? I think maybe the first thing you have to understand is that for most of us it's going to be a process. We didn't get to where we have the lid on ourselves overnight. We didn't get, and when it comes to health and fitness, it's the same. We didn't get in the condition we're in overnight. So it takes a little bit of time to get to shift gears and to get out from under that lid. So what exactly is the process, and what are the steps that we need to take in order to get that lid off of us? Well, it's not the information. There's plenty of information out there, plenty of content you can consume, and in fact, most of us already know how to get in shape, to get fit, and to get our health back. So it's not that. What I believe it is about our beliefs. In fact, there's a famous statement, something along the lines of, nothing is either good or bad except thinking makes it so. And that's just reflective of the fact that how we think about things is how they actually are. And that's a big part of how you get yourself out from under that lid, is you've got to change your thinking. You've got to change your beliefs particularly about yourself, about who you are. I think one of the best ways to change your beliefs is to take massive action. I think that when you read about stuff, you learn about stuff, you hear about stuff, you get an education out of that, but education without action is just a waste. It doesn't do anything for you. So it's taken massive action. I'll tell you a quick story about how that worked in my life in one particular case. It wasn't about health, but it was about success in a way. I was working at an aluminum plant, an aluminum smelter that melted aluminum, and it was a pretty big company, and all I was a welder out there. But I had read a book about a guy, and this was when I was in my 20s, maybe 25 years old. Read a book about a guy who didn't know anything about sawmills, but he was able to figure out that a group of sawmills was a publicly traded company, and it was being traded at a price that the stock value was less than the value of the assets of the company. Anyway, it was an interesting read, and he was able to buy this company, and he ended up making a fortune doing it. So it wasn't the same industry, but it illustrated to me that a guy who didn't know anything about that business was able to buy that business and made a great deal out of it. So I had that information, and I'm a young guy. I had my background was just basic middle class, maybe even lower middle class upbringing, where all the thinking was you got out of high school, you got a job at one of the local cradle to grave places like a sawmill or the aluminum plant or the mines, or you just did that kind of job, and you worked there until you died. That was it. So for me to think about being an entrepreneur and doing something bigger was not even remotely in the cards. But nonetheless, I read this book and my mindset was a little bit different. So I decided that maybe it was possible that I could buy this company that I was working for. And like most of the time when you break out of your comfort zone, there's a lot of people who are going to tell you, no, you can't do that. You're crazy. That's just not going to happen. You're not capable. And they do that because they don't want you to change. They want you to stay with them. Everybody's in that comfort spot. Everybody's the same. And if you do something different, then man, they're going to maybe have to analyze their own behavior and decide to do something different as well. But in any case, in order to get off the bubble of where I was, I had to take massive action. So what I did was I went down and bought myself the first suit that I ever owned. And here I am, a 25-year-old baby-faced guy. I mean, really, I couldn't even grow a beard if I wanted to. And I put on this suit and I went to visit my banker. And I had a mullet. This was back in the 90s when the party in the back, business in the front hairdo was a big deal. So not exactly looking like a big businessman. I went in, talked to my banker, told him I needed to borrow $60 million, and he had a good laugh. But after going over it and talking and everything, he thought maybe there was something to this, and so he introduced me to somebody who introduced me to somebody, and through a series of introductions, long story short, I was able to put together a bid for this company, which subsequently went out for bids because they determined that if I could come up with the money to buy this, that maybe somebody else would come up with more. And ultimately, I got outbid. I was able to put together a $40 million bid, which was really what it was worth, but someone else bid a crazy number. They ended up selling it for about $58 million, and the company that bought it went bankrupt. And long story short, anyway, it was a good thing that I didn't buy it. But going through that changed my beliefs about what was possible for me. And because of that, a few years later, I was able to actually go to Tennessee. This all happened in North Idaho. I was able to go to Tennessee and build an aluminum plant just like this for myself. I was able to apply the things that I had learned and was able to build a successful multi-million-dollar business in Tennessee. So that's just one example of how taking massive action can change your thought processes. And for me, that little step was just the first step in an entire career of more bigger and bigger adventures that I went on with business because of that, taking that one massive action of actually, for me, it was a massive action going and buying a suit and going and visit my bank and asking for $60 million. So massive action is one of the first steps towards changing your beliefs about, and by the way, I wrote a book about that. If you want a cheap read, I'll put a link in the description, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle and all that stuff, and it's actually pretty entertaining. But anyway, back to the massive action. Once you've taken the massive action, you're gonna find that you've lifted the lid a little bit and you're peeking out from under there. Things look pretty good, but the lid's heavy. And there's a whole bunch of people standing on top of there, the people that you ran with up until this point that are wanting to push the lid back down because they don't want you getting out from under that lid. So there has to be more than just the massive action. The next thing that you need is a compelling reason. You have to have, because this is a long game. Health and fitness is a lifelong game. Success in any endeavor is a long game. If you want to get better at playing the guitar, you're going to have to practice and practice and practice. If you want to be a better runner, you're going to have to run and run and run and run. You want to be the best husband or the best wife you can be, you have to work at it. It doesn't stop. You continue, you just got to keep going. So it's a long game. And to be in the long game, you need a compelling reason. You have to really want to do this so that you'll keep doing it. Even when it's boring or when it's difficult, you'll keep getting up and you'll keep swinging the bat and you'll keep pushing forward. So take the massive action, make sure your reason is compelling, and then keep in mind that you're playing a long game. This is not just a change in your beliefs, it's a change in how You look at yourself, it's a change in how you view the world, it's a change in how others are going to look at you, and it's certainly a change in your level of success in the world. And you're going to find that if you succeed in this area with your health and fitness, that success will translate into all other areas of your life. You're going to experience more success in everything that you do, and you're going to be a lot healthier and happier and able to function a lot better because of it. Thanks for watching.